Dude, this shit is so fucking annoying. This is the Stellaris community page on Steam, and just this exists. It's so... Why does everything have to have freaking gay fucking furries? Why do they have to shove themselves into everything? No. No, this shouldn't exist. I hate this. Go away, get out of this game, go play Concord or something. But what I find funny is none of the comments, I mean, obviously there's mine, but like none of the comments like this. I now hate the xenophile fox. Shut up, furry aliens and homo fascists are not allowed in the Imperium of Man, Super, the Galactic Empire. Xenos are incapable of higher feelings. Love is universal. I'll put that on the grave of your purged empire. Damn! Not even the Troons! Not even the gays and the Troons want... Not even the gays and the Troons want this shit. What the hell?
Give me money, give me money, give me money, give me money, give me money.
Oh, you know what time it is. Shield time! If you look down in the description, you'll see a link to a Patreon, a Rumble, and a Discord server. If you want to see the uncut versions of these videos, go ahead and check out the Rumble. I cut these videos to fit YouTube's wonderful content policies, so if you'd like to see all the spicier jokes and things that YouTube would beat me with a spoon over, go ahead and check that out. If you want to come hang out or chat or tell me I'm a fucking retard, go ahead and give the Discord server a look. And finally, if you think the content is worth it, go ahead and give the Patreon a look. You know, patron subscriptions will encourage me to continue doing this. Maybe so I don't have to get a second job. Don't know. And, you know, it'll just help me improve the quality as well. Anything that goes into the Patreon will go back into the YouTube videos in some way, shape, or form. Also, once I finally get one patron subscriber, I will finally remove the annoying as shit Discord notifications. Marketing. So, yeah. Also, if you liked the video, go ahead, give it a like. If you want to see more of my videos, go ahead and subscribe. And if you want to annoy your friends with my amazing voice, or my squeaky chair, go ahead and share it. Alright, back to the video. Yep, you saw the title. Today we're going to be talking about the most currently predominant, and I would personally say most destructive part of the alphabet movement. We're going to be talking about trans pride, and how it has just gone too far, how it is going too far, how in a movement that is built around removal of self-control and going too far, it is the pinnacle of going too far. Similar to my previous video, I would like to kind of shout out a channel that, you know, they did some videos that helped me with this. What the EGAD channel that somebody had recently showed to me actually did a video specifically talking about, I guess, a perceived hidden transgender agenda in Stellar Blade, which I thought was very interesting and actually kind of shined a light on things, really put a perspective on this topic that I didn't really notice, honestly, and probably would have continued not noticing until the person showed me this video. So I will link to that video as well. I think it is a very interesting one, and I do believe that it is going to... It helped me with this one. Now, I'd like to start this video off by, discussing what transgenderism is. I'm going to start by calling it what it really is, which is gender dysphoria, which up until a few years ago wasn't even considered offensive to say. Gender dysphoria is a mental illness where a person is in some sort of distress because they believe that their body is... basically that they are mismatched with their body. They believe that they are, in some way, the wrong gender. Right off the bat, There you go. It's a mental disorder. We talked about this in the gay video. I talked about this with how this is a mental illness. This is something going on that is wrong with your brain. Now, similarly to, as I mentioned in the last video, transgenderism or gender dysphoria is also connected to prenatal testosterone, just like, all the other whack jobby stuff in this field. This is kind of what led me to the theory that I mentioned in that video of, I think which one you end up with really depends on how heavily your brain is rewired by it. Again, like I said in that video, that's a theory. I'm not a doctor. I'm a jackass with opinions on the internet, so take that for what it's worth. Which is jack shit. But it is connected to that. Somehow this hormonal imbalance during the development of the fetus results in this sort of thing. And even more so than homosexuality, this is a serious mental condition, because this one can lead to straight up just distress. It can lead to mutilation, basically, and offing yourself in Minecraft. Now, with this very basic understanding established, this is where I would like to get into why the transgender movement has gone too far, really why the whole alphabet movement has gone too far, and transgenderism is just the peak of extremely too damn far, and why it genuinely needs to be stopped. So, gender dysphoria has severe effects on a person's mental health and on their mental state, to the point where it drives them to off themselves in Minecraft. The transgender rate of Minecraft cliff jumping is 40% before what is commonly referred to as gender affirming care. I'll get into my problem with that in a bit. The thing is, actually committing to the surgery doesn't improve that rate, at least not by a noticeably effective amount. It genuinely sits at around the same 40 to 50% rate. I've seen some studies that say 50%. So this is a sign that the problem is not, oh, they're in the wrong body, we need to affirm them. This is a sign that there is something severely wrong with them in the head, and we are not treating it. And what we are calling treatment is not actually fixing anything. In some cases, it actually makes the problem worse. There are a lot of cases of people who they went through with the surgery, and then they just realized what they did and go through extreme regret and try to revert back as much as possible. Because lo and behold, when you mutilate yourself, you suddenly regret it, if you don't just die. This is not even mentioning the fact that a lot of time the surgery actually can result in serious deadly infections and other just really bad complications. You take a very high risk. And the cherry on top, the hormone therapy that you have to go through before getting this surgery, and I believe continuing on, but don't take my word for that, can cause cancer. So there is even risk of Minecraft deletion if you don't do it yourself. So this is already a very, very serious choice that is not actually fixing a damn thing. This also goes into another completely untouched factor behind the transgender situation. One that is just not even brought up in conversation, and it is almost criminal. There is another mental disorder, another mental disability or whatever you want to call it, called Body Integrity Identity Disorder, or BIID, which is a mental illness where, for whatever reason, you feel that entire just healthy parts of your body, things that belong there, they are fully healthy, all that stuff. Your brain thinks they don't belong there, and it has extremely strong urges of just mutilation. Like you literally, you look at, like, say your arm, for example. It's perfectly fine, it's perfectly normal, you are completely healthy, but for whatever reason, your brain thinks that that arm does not belong there, and you want to cut it off. Because your body is programmed to want to remove things that it can tell are not healthy to an extreme point or actually don't belong. And so it kind of just fires that at completely normal, healthy parts of the body. And you can bet your bottom dollar this can play into the gender dysphoria stuff as well. Some people might have both, or they have one instead of the other. Like, for whatever reason, they feel that their individual private gender parts don't belong. And this gets into the other problem with it. Gender dysphoria is mixed with a lot of just complete, utter misdiagnoses. Not that people, well, sometimes it's people who don't have it are diagnosed wrong. That's normally what it is. It has been shown in some studies that about 4 out of 5 children who, they reach puberty and they start questioning their gender, actually they grow out of it and just turn out to be gay. A lot of these people are actually just gay, but it was misdiagnosed at some point as gender dysphoria, or people have BIID and it is misdiagnosed as gender dysphoria because there's a huge political movement to push this trans rights and trans acceptance. And especially with the 4 out of 5 kids one, they're pushing it on kids. Spoiler about where it gets too far, but they push it on kids, they push it on teens, they push it on adults. A lot of things in the name of politics and trans acceptance get misdiagnosed as gender dysphoria. And now they push gender dysphoria as not being a mental illness. So you have people who don't have this being diagnosed with it and then being told that it's nothing wrong with them. So you've got people that are gay and or want to mutilate themselves because something feels wrong, being told that they are in the wrong body. And for the people who do actually have gender dysphoria, they're being told that it's completely fine and normal and that they should go mutilate their body. Do you see how this has gone too far? Like, this alphabet movement has gone from I want to sleep with the same gender, accept me, to completely and utterly do irreversible destruction to your body. Gender-affirming care, as they call it, or as I like to call it, pure mutilation, can't be undone. You can't undo that. I'm sorry, once the sausage is removed, you can't tack it back on. Once the bongo drums are removed, you can't tape them back on. You can't put these things back on. They are disposed of, they are never seen again, and you are left with irreversible damage to your body. And now they want to push it on children? There's a huge part of this movement now where it's like, oh, you feel like you're a girl, but you're a little boy? That's because you were born in the wrong body. And now they're pushing these cancer-causing hormone treatments and irreversible surgery on children and trying to push for a complete removal of intervention of the parents to stop this. This has gone too far. This is way past accept me and into mutilate yourself for our ideology. Believe what we believe and destroy yourself to support it. That is a cult. And that's why I chose the title of cult, because this is not accept my degeneracy. This is the alphabet equivalent to circumcision. In the EGAD video that I mentioned, the one that I say really kind of helped me with this and really just cemented my idea that this is a cult, not a gendered thing. He goes through the plot of Stellar Blade with the quote-unquote true ending. Long story short, it has strong undertones of the transgender journey of what a person who has this dysphoria tends to feel like, put in the the eyes of somebody on the far left. There's lots of ideas of you are still you, but you are incomplete, you are changing yourself, you are reaching a full completion, and how it's basically a transhuman idea. And he touches on the fact that the only reason this story even has any form of resonance is because it has a strong use of Christian terminology and a strong use of things that mirror Christian ideology. The idea of completing yourself is basically mirroring the Christian idea of being made whole in Christ. The idea of, feeling like there's something wrong with you is, kind of mirroring the acceptance of we are sinful creatures and we need salvation. The idea of reaching that completion and that ascension mirrors the idea of becoming saved. Things like that. It is strongly mirroring specifically Christian religious undertones. That should say something about what this movement really is. It's not a sexuality movement. It's not a mental health acceptance movement. If this was actually about the mental health of these people, it would not be pushing to let them mutilate themselves and call themselves a gender that they're not. It would be about getting them the treatment they need. But it's not. It's about them going on this journey. It's about reaching this. It is about this pseudo-religious journey. That's a cult. Think about it for a second. The transgender movement, you are not allowed to question their identity. You are supposed to accept them and, accept their journey and have sympathy for them. And when they reach that point of their completion, you are supposed to accept them for who they are. This is a pseudo-religious movement with transhuman undertones. They're not even transhuman undertones, it's just transhuman. And just because I'm going to probably have to establish what this is for at least some people, transhuman is basically a philosophical idea of becoming something more than a human, or a quote-unquote post-human, which is basically, it looks like a human, it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck, but somehow it's not a duck, it's a goose, basically. It's this idea that through science and augmentation, we can become something more than a human. This is a very common thing in science fiction, where it should stay and where it belongs. Super soldiers, for example. Not entirely. Super soldiers tend to fall more into the camp of enhancing what makes somebody human, but in basic concept, it is still technically a form of transhumanism. Or cyborgs. That's another form of transhumanism. Any idea in sci-fi, anything where it's like it's people doing stuff to themselves through science, whether it be through biology or cybernetics or psionics or things along those lines, to enhance themselves to become something more than human. That is what a transhuman ideology is. It is that, but in the real world. And the thing is, there's people actually working for this, and it's fucking insane. It's basically playing God. And that's what the transgender movement really is. It is a transhuman movement born out of mental sickness that is pushed by a political group that has been shown in recent years to have some form of underground deep state authority and working towards one world government that is pushing this idea of post-humanism. Yes, I know, I went a little conspiracy theory there, but at the end of the day, the Global Economic Forum is very public and very open about what they're doing. But that's what this is. Transgenderism is a transhuman pseudo-religious cult. That is why it is not pushing for actual treatment, but rather mutilation. That is why you're not allowed to question it. That's why you are called a bigot if you call these people mentally sick like I do, or see this as an abomination, or point out that these are irreversible things being done. This is why they don't like it when you point out that this is being pushed on children, that our kids are being indoctrinated into this pseudo-religious transhuman ideology. We are no longer dealing with pride or acceptance of things that are out of somebody's control. I will be honest. I will admit it. If you are gay or if you are a lesbian, that is out of your control. You're born that way. I'm not going to say it's untreatable, and I'll get to why in a minute, but that is something out of your control, and at the end of the day, there isn't a whole lot you can do about it. We're no longer talking about accepting those people for who they are and acknowledging they're humans. We are completely talking about a forced ideology. We are talking about a religious cult. This is no longer about acceptance. This is about indoctrination. This has gone too far and needs to be stopped. I haven't even touched on the countless people who do this because it's a fetish. Because there is a lot of people who, I forget the name of it, there is a fetish where people are turned on by the idea of being acknowledged as and looking like the opposite gender. Or the transgenders, because after this became popular, droves of people just suddenly came out as some form of trans, and then you got the queer and the non-binary and this and that and the next thing. The number skyrocketed just like that, just way too fast to be natural. It wasn't people who actually were suffering from gender dysphoria, it was people who hopped on the bandwagon because it could get them some social brownie points. I haven't even talked about that. And when I originally planned this video, when it was still going to be just the one video, I was going to touch on that more. But then I ran into this stupid cult part of it, and that's just much more important. The transgender thing will go away. The sexual fetish thing, I mean, that'll probably go away at some point too if you don't allow this ideology to spread. I mean, people still have it, obviously, but it won't be as prominent. This also isn't even touching on the people who aren't actually any of this. They're just using it as an excuse to perv on girls in the bathroom. These are all people who are piggybacking off of the actual problem here. A transhuman pseudo-religious cult that uses some mirrors to Christian ideology to get any form of sympathy and grounding, demands your support, and demands your children convert. Now, for the people who actually have gender dysphoria, and to an extent people who have the different forms of homosexuality, there is actually treatment for them, and ironically enough, it is technically used for people going through gender conversion therapy, or gender conversion surgeries, I should say, and it's hormone therapy. You can expose somebody to the hormones of the opposite sex, and that does cause problems. But let's say you have a guy who thinks he's a girl, and as we touched on before, it's connected to that prenatal testosterone. It has rewired their brain wrong. If you could expose them to controlled doses of the right amount of testosterone, in this case, I would say, or whatever hormone needs to be done, they can be treated and essentially cured of this gender dysphoria. It might take time, but it can be treated. It's not untreatable. So that's the real solution to this. And if you actually care for these people, if you actually view them as humans, if you view them as people who should be treated well, and actually want to do good for them, you should be pushing for that. You should be pushing for them to get the treatment they need, pushing to stop this politicized, diabolical diagnoses of how to handle gender dysphoria and misdiagnosing things as gender dysphoria to push this twisted ideology. If you genuinely care for these people and want to help them, that's what you should be standing for. Not transgender acceptance, because it's not true acceptance, it's mutilation. It's mutilation and indoctrination. You should not push for the rights of transgender children. They don't exist. should push for the treatment of people who suffer from gender dysphoria so that they can live normal, healthy lives and not hate themselves. Because these people are truly suffering desperately, and they are being given terrible advice and mistreatment over it in the name of essentially Marxist ideology. When I was originally planning this video, I planned to touch on transgender movement's connections with communism and its origins in the civil rights movement and all of this stuff. But when I saw the things that was pointed out in the EGAD video and kind of looked into it a bit more myself, I felt that this was a much more important thing to talk about. Because yes, it's a communist-connected ideology. Yes, it's a socialist-connected ideology. What woke ideology isn't at this point? But this one is a truly disgusting thing because it is pushing for the mutilation and eventual destruction of the human species in the name of telling somebody they are okay to think that they're the wrong gender when they are truly seriously suffering. That needs to be stopped. That is a terrible fate that I would wish on nobody. But as is, we allow hundreds of thousands of people to suffer from it every day and tell them that they're strong and that they're okay, and that people telling them they're not okay are trying to genocide them. That's just evil. That's just evil. I will not stand for that. And so I will speak out against that. And that's what this video is here to do. Because, again, what leftist ideology isn't communist at this point? Which LGBTQ ABC 123 can I have a cheeseburger please ideology isn't communist at this point? But this is the deep, twisted, evil undertones of this movement that nobody wants to talk about. And it's the things that really need to be brought to light. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, and please consider subscribing to the channel for more of this stupid nonsense. Also, if you'd like to hang out or just call me a stupid idiot dummy face, go ahead and check out the Discord. And if you'd like to support more content like this, go ahead and give out the Patreon a check. I hope y'all have yourselves a good day.